Hey guys, Tim here, Big Dog Forge. Welcome back to the shop. So this time around, we're going to build a permanent steel mold to cast some aluminum tooling in for a very specific project. So let's get to it. I'll explain along the way, and we'll talk at the other end. Thanks guys. Stick with me. Should be fun. Okay guys, here we go. We got a pile of steel here. These half-inch thick, 4-inch wide plates are going to be the main body of this thing. Just going to clean the corners off and get them into the surface grinder. I want to keep this as flat and as smooth as possible so that while we're casting into this mold, it gives us the best surface finish we can. I'm not too worried about the surface finish at the moment. We're working out the details on these drill guides, and it'll kind of work itself out as we go. But I do need a nice smooth surface so that the aluminum doesn't want to adhere to anything, and all my corners are nice and crisp and there aren't any leaks for the aluminum to leak out of this mold. So we'll clean all these guys up. Now this is a 1-inch thick, 1.5-inch wide mild steel bar, and just machining these grooves on either side, and our 1/2-inch plates will sit on either side of this rabbeted piece of steel. It'll leave a void between the two, and that's where our aluminum will be poured into. One will be the top of the mold, the other will be the bottom. There we go. Now this is the back plate, and the 4 holes were drilled by a unibit, step bit, multi-bit. People call them several different things. And the aluminum will flow down into those, and being the shape they will release the aluminum pretty easily. And that's where we will mount our hardened steel drill guides. So these are a drill guide for some individuals doing some field work. They've got 450 or so odd doors they need to drill specific holes in. Rather than template each one, they asked if I could build them some drill guides for this particular project. I said sure. So we've welded this together in 2 halves so we can clamshell that together with some clamps. Alright, the third piece you see there is simply going to back up those holes so the aluminum doesn't flow out the back. Now in one of the rails, I've cut a section out of the center and boxed it in with 1/8-inch mild steel. And this is boron nitride, which is a mold release. It's a high temperature mold release used for this specifically. Just keeps the aluminum from adhering to anything, and you spray it about once every 4th or 5th pour. It does wear off, but when pouring aluminum into steel, it's amazing. Alright, and that's where we're going to pour into. So the steel mold needs to be preheated to about 500 degrees. Otherwise the first pour will it'll shock the metal and crack it, and it'll shrink too much. So we're going to get it up to about 500 degrees. Meanwhile, this is a steel can we built, and I've lined the inside of it with fire clay to keep the aluminum from eroding the steel away. It erodes steel pretty quickly, and we need a hole through this little thin can pretty fast. Little handy tongs. I get this thing into the forge, see how it works. That's pretty good, but I didn't like the handy tongs so much, so we grabbed a pair of old bolt tongs and kind of adjusted them to fit this can, and we get it in. Alright, our mold is 450. We'll give it a minute. We'll get it over here on top of this bucket, and that bucket's full of sand, because when I spill, not if, but when I spill, because I will, it will catch that in the sand, and I can separate it out and remold it. Alright, so You see the leather that I've got there in my hand. That's to keep me from burning myself, obviously. I need a pair of pliers on this. And I cannot find my hot gloves. I need to go get some new ones anyway. So right now this mold is about somewhere between 600 and 800 degrees. It was at 5, and once you pour into it, it grabs that heat. And to keep that heat going, you want to keep it warm. We'll pop this out, reassemble it, and keep pouring. We're going to pour probably 4 or 5 of these, but they only need 2 at the moment. So we will get a couple of them out to them, see how they work, and then let the others sit aside in case we need to make modifications to the design. Alright. You get the clamps back on this thing, and the next batch of aluminum is heating. The next pour. And this is something that once the mold was created and made, it did not take long to get these poured. I could pour one every 4 or 5 minutes. Just waiting for more aluminum to heat up. And give you a little better look at what this looks like up close. You can see that ribbon of aluminum coming over the edge. As long as it keeps contact with that pour, it won't start solidifying so soon. It'll give it some time to shrink off the top. And we're going to cut off our excess, and we'll go ahead and machine a couple of these out and show you how this works. And that can go right back into the scrap. And there we go. So we got 5 decent ones. And this edge that I'm cleaning up goes towards the jamb, the strike side of the jamb, where the door hardware is being installed. And pretty much everything will be measured off of that to keep the templating correct as we machine these. Get them cleaned up a little bit. Okay, so I'm just finishing off the edge that I just cut the material off of, make them nice and square and presentable. And this particular aluminum, I used extruded aluminum. It seems to be really good for heating and pouring. And we give a little bit of cleanup, and we'll move on to the next process. And we've got to flatten the face of these. We need a nice flat surface here. So we got this old cutter. Had this thing for about 25 years, but it still works really well. It's got some new cutting tools in it. And we give it a rough pass, and then we'll go back over these guys with a little lighter pass and a little higher speed. And we'll get a nice finish on this. So this is the side that we'll lay on the door. So we want it nice and flat, and we'll use a couple of screws to secure it to the door so it doesn't move around as they're using it. This little Bridgeport mill that I'm using here, I've had for a very, very long time, since the mid-90s, I suppose. And it was a cheap thing when I bought it, but I've kept it in pretty good shape, and it's fairly accurate. So cleaning up all the corners left from the machining. Wish I could move that fast in real life. That'd be awesome. Okay, and we're going to drill these holes. So I set up stops on the cross feed in the bed so that this would simply drill in the same place every time based on the face and the end of this casting to keep our templating as perfect as possible. And we're drilling this just slightly under 19 millimeters. Because our drill guides that we purchased for this project are right at 19 millimeters. So we're a few thousandths. I believe we're about 4 thousandths under that. And that'll give us the opportunity to tap them in place, and then we'll use the press to press them in fully. And they're about a 32nd of an inch shorter than this aluminum is thick. So when we press them down, the aluminum will mushroom around the bottom of the head where there's a groove for retaining the drill guide. And if we need to press them out and replace the drill guides, we can. A little cleanup. Mama don't like it when you walk this stuff in the house on the bottom of your shoes. Hey, keep it clean. Ooh, a penny. Nice. Alright, so these are our drill guides, and I purchased these from a tool manufacturer. They weren't too expensive, and we'll give it the old Big Dog Forge mark here. Touch mark. These guys know where they came from. They need more, they can come back and get some more. Alright, and it doesn't take much. Floyd just pushes that right down into that aluminum, and it retains those really, really well. So that'll give us a couple of those, and we'll set up a 2x6 here in a minute. I'll show you how this works. Now these holes I'm drilling are going to just be mounting holes. This is what will hold it on the door, because the hardware that's being installed will simply cover up any holes that are in this area. Yeah, we'll give those a little countersink. So we can use a little drywall screw to mount those with. Nice. Alright. There we go. So we're going to simulate our door here. And we'll use a twist bit. Now the one that I've got is a little bit dull. It fits this. It's a 7/16 hole. They need a 3/8 templated, but if we go a little bit oversized, then we are good. And 7/16 is the perfect size for this. Okay, so we'll get this up here, and we'll show you what the hardware looks like. That's how it fits into the guide. You see a little Big Dog in there. Alright, that'll go right on the door. This is the hardware being installed, and then it screws in to an exit device from the other side. Oh, there we go. So this will be a whole lot quicker than templating those 4 holes by hand for that many doors. Big Dog Forge. There you go. Alright guys, let's wrap this one up. Okay guys, there you go. So that tooling got into the hands of the folks who needed it. They're working quite well, and it looks like they're going to probably need more of those. So that's a good thing. And wanted to thank you for stopping by, Big Dog Forge. We'll be coming out with some more videos. It looks like I'll be putting out a video maybe about every 2 weeks for a while. That seems to be a good time frame for me right now. And yeah. So if you liked it, like. If you want to share it with somebody, share. And if you haven't already, you might think about subscribing. Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. We'll see you next time right here, Big Dog Forge. Bye-bye now.